Let's take a look at the f-stop scale, if you will. When it comes to whole f-stops, the ones that we tend to use more often are 2/8 and f4, 5/6, f8, f11, and of course f16. Those are whole f-stops. And we move between those whole f-stops, we are doubling or halving the volume of light that comes through that hole in the disc. That's all those guys are. But what happens on your camera when you see something like 7.1 or 4.5? How do those fit in? Well, let me show you. There's f2/8, and when we move a third closer to f4, we can call that f3.2, or we just round that off to 3.2. We don't really say the point when we're communicating that back and forth. That's a third of an f-stop greater than f2/8. Next one up, 3.5. Then we go another third. That puts us right back to the whole f-stop, which is f4. Then a third beyond that is f4.5. Then f5. The next whole f-stop is f5.6. Beyond that, we've got f6.3, f7.1, then f8. Then, of course, the easy ones, right? f9, 10, and then the next whole f-stop is f11. Then we skip one. There's f13, there's f14, and then the next whole f-stop is f16. So if you look at this scale that's in front of me, you'll see whole f-stops and thirds of f-stops grouped together. So when we have our flash meter and our camera set to work in third f-stop values, our meter will tell us exactly how to set up our camera. Some photographers will use tenths of f-stops. So instead of, say, f5.6, their meter will read f5.6 and 0/10. Well, then if they have just a little bit more light, it'll read f5.6 and 1/10. And it's up to the photographer to decide, do I back my light off a tenth of an f-stop? Because you certainly can't set your camera to f5.6 and 1/10. You can set it to f5.6 and a third, though, can't you? Sure. f5.6 and a third for old guys like me. We never really used f5.6, 6.3, 7.1, 8. We used 5.6, 5.6 plus a third, 5.6 plus 2/3, and then f8. Nowadays, we're switching back to that more digital scale. So it's going to be 5.6, 6.3, 7.1, 8.0. But if you have your meter set to read in tenths of an f-stop, f5.6 and 3/10 is pretty much the same thing as f6.3. Don't get confused. If your meter reads in tenths of an f-stop, just go back like I showed you in that video. Pop the back of the cover off, flip your meter over so it measures in thirds of an f-stop. Your meter will round up or round down to the next third, making your life easier. If you are a super precise photographer or you're shooting really critical, say, product shots, then you may want to go back to work in tenths of an f-stop, and then you decide, am I going to round up or round down? If you have something, say, that's chrome and shiny, and you want to protect all the highlight values you can, and you're right in between a third of an f-stop's rounding off values of your meter, you can make that decision. For now, once we're really starting to get our pictures just right, we're just going to allow the meter to help us out and round up or round down to the nearest third of an f-stop. So, let's go back and take another look at our chickens, shall we? Our chickens. We got a little problem, don't we? Yeah, we got these nice white, actually kind of off-white chickens. Dave, will you come in a little closer, buddy, and we'll take a look at this print again. We've got a set that I made. In fact, this background here is a custom-made background that I actually made with the inkjet printers that you see on the sets here. Got a blue dot just for a little color and contrast. Got a white inner glow, gray to dark gray outer glow. And of course, oh, Dave, nice shot. Dave's got a nice shot there of the chickens. So you can see that the chickens are white. Now hold that shot for me, guys. Here is the print that we made of the chickens using the automatic exposure mode. Is that the best spot for you? There you go. We got a big difference, don't we? That white color is certainly not translated on this print. Now, did we do anything funny with this print? Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. The print that you see here is a JPEG straight out of the camera using aperture priority mode. That's an automated exposure mode. We snapped a JPEG. We sent it through one of our high-end inkjet printers. Never went through Photoshop. We don't even drive our inkjet printers with Photoshop. We use a special lab-grade piece of software. So this print is extremely accurate, meaning it's very similar to the file that it created. Well, how are we going to fix this problem? We're going to control the exposure ourselves. Let me show you how. First thing is, we're going to break out my trusty Sekonic 358. Next, I'm going to make sure that it's set. Dave, if you can get nice and close there, it's set in the ambient light mode. Can you see that up there? It's the little sun. There you are. That means it's going to measure the continuous ambient light that I want. And then I am going to set my shutter speed, and it's going to determine what my aperture setting is going to be. So let me show you how I use that. I'm going to go back to where the chickens are. Now, it's hard for you to see. You don't see the whole set here, but we do have a hair light kind of on the back of the set here. So I'm going to make sure I don't cast a shadow on that. I'm going to take my exposure meter. I'm going to place it right underneath the chin of my little chicken, and I'm going to point it back into the lens, and I'm going to make an exposure meter reading. And if you look here, Dave, close there. There you are, pal. Sorry to hit your focus there. Yep. That's going to be, great job. Look at this camera work. That's 800 ISO. See it up in the corner, 800 ISO. T is going to be my shutter speed. Time, 1/30 of a second. F is my f-stop setting, and it's 5, f5.0. So 800 ISO, 1/30 of a second, f5. Let's set the camera there. Let's make a shot. Let's take a look at it. So of course, we're going to take this out of its automated mode, going to put it in manual mode. I'm going to double check my ISO. Yep, it's 800. I'm going to set my aperture to 5, f5. And remember our shutter speed, everything you want to know is going to be right on your meter. I'm going to set it to 1/30 of a second. Now I'm going to reshoot that same shot that I just did. I'm going to make sure it's in focus. Yep, tell the chicken to smile.